Growing up, English had always seemed like a distant language to me. I knew its importance and how it opened doors globally, but mastering it felt like an intimidating task. My interest in improving my English started during high school, but the conventional methods of textbooks and grammar exercises just weren't working. That all changed one evening when I stumbled upon an English movie that not only entertained me, but also ignited a new way of learning. At first, the dialogue was fast, the slang confusing, and the accents overwhelming. I had trouble following the conversations, let alone understanding the humor or idioms. But there was something about the immersive nature of films, where language was alive, intertwined with emotions and visuals, that made me want to push through the confusion. One of the earliest movies I watched was Forrest Gump. I remember being mesmerized by Tom Hanks' performance, even though I couldn't catch every word. The subtitles became my lifeline, allowing me to connect the spoken word with its written form. Slowly, I started picking up on recurring words and phrases. What started as pure entertainment had now turned into an informal language classroom. The beauty of watching movies was that I wasn't just learning English, I was learning natural English. The phrases people actually used in real conversations, rather than the stiff and formal sentences found in textbooks, started to become part of my vocabulary. I was learning how people greeted each other, expressed emotions, and even cracked jokes. As my understanding grew, I challenged myself to watch without subtitles. At first, I would only catch half of what was said, but it was enough. The visual cues from the actors, the context of the scenes, and the tone of their voices helped me fill in the gaps. It felt like solving a fun puzzle with every new film I watched. Romantic comedies like Notting Hill and When Harry Met Sally played a pivotal role. The lighter dialogues, sprinkled with humor and casual conversations, helped me ease into the flow of native English. I learned how to catch nuances, the sarcasm, the wit, and the subtle emotional undercurrents that are often difficult to grasp from textbooks. Each movie offered me something new. Action films like Die Hard and The Avengers exposed me to fast-paced dialogues, while dramas like The Pursuit of Happiness honed my ability to understand emotional and complex conversations. I also started noting how accents varied, from the crisp British tones in Harry Potter to the Southern drawl in The Green Mile. It broadened my ear to the rich diversity within the English language. Beyond vocabulary, I started observing how characters communicated without words. The body language, gestures, and expressions helped reinforce the spoken dialogue, making English more than just a language to learn. It became a language I could feel. With time, I began jotting down new words and phrases I encountered. It wasn't just about memorizing them. I actively looked for ways to use them in my daily life, whether in writing or speaking. Watching movies gave me confidence to experiment with the language in ways I hadn't before. I could mimic how characters expressed themselves, practicing their tone, delivery, and fluency. One day, I decided to take my learning to the next level. I began repeating scenes out loud, trying to match the actor's speed and pronunciation. It was difficult at first, but it was an enjoyable challenge. I was no longer a passive viewer, but an active participant in the movie. Repeating the dialogues helped me develop better pronunciation and fluency, turning me into an English speaker in the making. The turning point came when I was able to watch an entire movie without subtitles and still understand the bulk of it. That realization was exhilarating. I knew I had crossed a major milestone, and it boosted my motivation to continue improving. Eventually, I started gravitating towards more challenging films. Historical dramas like The King's Speech and Schindler's List had heavier, more sophisticated language, but by then, I had built enough of a foundation to appreciate them. These films pushed me to refine my skills, teaching me how language could be formal yet powerful. Beyond entertainment, movies also introduced me to different cultures, lifestyles, and ways of thinking. This opened my eyes to the fact that language wasn't just about words. It was about understanding context, culture, and the people who spoke it. English wasn't just a tool for communication anymore. It became a gateway to global understanding. Watching animated films like Finding Nemo and Toy Story further simplified the learning process, as their clear and articulate dialogues were easier to follow. These movies brought me back to the basics, yet continued to strengthen my foundation in the language. Even when the characters were fictional, the emotions and words felt real. I also started watching interviews with actors and directors, paying attention to how they spoke off-screen. These unscripted conversations gave me insight into everyday English, how people naturally talk when they're not reading from a script. It helped me fine-tune my conversational skills. By the time I began watching complex films like Inception or The Social Network, I was less intimidated by the fast-paced dialogues or technical terms. Even if I missed a few lines, I no longer felt frustrated. My confidence in English had grown to the point where I could enjoy a movie without needing to understand every single word. I found that watching English films not only improved my listening skills, but also enhanced my writing. The dialogues, the varied sentence structures, and the creative expressions seeped into my writing style, making it more natural and fluid. The more I immersed myself in English movies, the more I fell in love with the language. Films like The Shawshank Redemption and Good Will Hunting inspired me with their profound scripts. They made me realize how words, when used effectively, could stir emotions and create connections across cultures. As I moved on to different genres, from thrillers to documentaries, I realized that my vocabulary had expanded significantly. Words that once seemed foreign now felt familiar. I could hold conversations with native English speakers more comfortably, and for the first time, I truly felt at ease in the language. The impact of watching movies went beyond language mastery. It cultivated my passion for storytelling and creativity. It wasn't just about learning English anymore. It was about experiencing the richness of human expression, something that transcended language itself. By the end of this journey, I had watched hundreds of films, each contributing to my understanding and command of the language. More importantly, I had built a lifelong habit learning through entertainment. Watching movies had made English feel less like a subject to study and more like a companion to my daily life. Looking back, it's incredible to think how a simple pastime transformed my entire approach to learning. The immersive world of English movies brought the language to life for me in a way that traditional learning couldn't. It turned something that once felt daunting into an adventure I genuinely enjoyed.